All right, so we should be live. Yay! Uh, and before anyone says anything, yes, I should be scheduling lives. And yes, it might be better to have a little bit more light. It is early in the morning for me, so I might slur a little bit. I do have my coffee. Turn on another light here. So I've been planning on doing a recap for a little while. I'm gonna wait to see if anyone shows up. If not, I'm just gonna go ahead like I normally do, because it would be nice for a Q&A to have people in here for a Q&A. While I do that, I could probably put in. So if you're not familiar already, I like to use Ecamm, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in a little text in here. Let me see if I could do this real quick. No. What did I do? I broke something already. Hold on. Not broke it, but let's try that again. All right. Then I'm just gonna copy and paste because that's what I do. See if I could copy and paste. Yay. And we'll bring this down. And I'm going to add the chat on my screen. What is going on, Richard? All right. I'm wondering if I'm doing something wrong because I could see you on Ecamm, but I can't see you in YouTube. Huh. I know I'm streaming to the right channel. Oh, wait. Top chat. I always forget about this. I should probably do live chat. And there you go. You could tell I do a lot of lives. So I started this channel talking about, networking and basic stuff like upload, download speed, all that stuff. And was pretty quiet. Even today, where I might get at least 10. My goal is 10 views a video. Just saying, 10 view. Morning, afternoon, evening. How are you doing? Hold on, let me throw it up there. Let me throw it up. It helps if I go to the right spot. How you doing, Lynn? Morning. So yeah, again, if I get a few views, I was okay with it. But I think the networking and some of the basics are very important. So, as Doc Rock says, redo your videos or repost them. I'm just going to redo them. So, I'm going to talk a little bit on certain things if people don't ask questions. But I feel even for streamers that just use their phones, they're connecting to Wi-Fi, they're connecting to cell data. I think there's a lack of at least basic understanding of Wi-Fi, cell data, upload speed. What is it that makes or you need to have your video even go live? So I just wanted to touch base on a few things like that again. I set up some very basic stuff where I could play. So if I go into, let's say here, and I go into my little whiteboard, and I try very carefully, because I am horrible. I could do a little drawing here, like, so this is your house. This is your router. That kind of thing, This is the internet. We all like to draw the internet as that's an ugly cloud, but ISP, internet service provider. You could tell I'm an artist. I'm gonna try to do this left-handed. Uh oh, that's dangerous. Let's change colors here. Can I do this left-handed? Let me try to hold steady. So you got your internet service provider hopefully wiring to your house. 'Cause I'm not a fan of cell data or cellular or any kind of non-wired internet going to the house. Clarify that, going to the house. Obviously, cell phones are going to have cell data. And this is the one, and again, it's not the end of the world, but I just, as an IT guy, I just want to clarify a few things. So, like you have your router in your house, which should have hopefully a few connections where you could wire a computer or your smart TV or whatever you might have. But then let's go with green. Why do you always give me a pop up with the green? Just let me do my green. You have your little Wi-Fi signals coming out of the router, and then let's go to blue again. No, let's do black. And then you have your cell phone, maybe your laptop, and everyone loves to connect by Wi-Fi. But I think what no one really realizes, or a lot of people don't really realize, is even if you lose internet, you don't lose Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a totally different thing. Wi-Fi is not internet. And I think we lose a lot of people when we say that. Like, well, what do you mean? I have to connect to the Wi-Fi to get to the internet. Exactly. Wi-Fi is your connection. Just like if you were to run a data cable. It's just your connection to the router. You don't need internet to have Wi-Fi, but you need internet to stream in or out. You need internet if you're going to, check your emails or do anything like that. But as far as connecting to Wi-Fi, that you don't need internet to connect to the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is just a technology that allows you to wirelessly connect your devices to the router. So yeah, I think it's a little important to understand that to a point. I mean, you don't have to understand it to a high level. Hell, I don't even understand it to a high level. Let me just use the eraser on here. And I'm in IT. I work with basic networks and trying to keep people online. Don't stay on the eraser. What's wrong with you? But you have to, in my opinion, you have to know enough to understand what you're dealing with. And again, that's just me. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to open this up. And we're going to go ahead with this video. So I'm going to talk a little bit about network basics. So internet speed. Anyone that knows anything about internet speed, they know download. I don't know a lot of people that are not a little bit like into technology and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of people know about internet speeds, how important upload speeds are. And I'm noticing I changed my slide, but nothing changed on the screen. So it's like, hey, tech issue. So the app opened. Oh, wait, that worked. Oh, there we go. Internet speed. No, it's only working on my screen. Oh, wow. That was a huge delay or glitch. Huh. And again, I'm always testing stuff, so I will get distracted. So internet speed. Here's a lot of stuff, just blah, 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 blah about internet speed. But, basically, And again, if you use your cell phone, this is probably not as critical. This is more for like people on their computers and everything, especially if they're using mirrorless cameras, all this other stuff. Depending on your camera settings, you need more bandwidth. You're going to need more upload speed because that's what's critical when you're dealing with streaming. And I mean, I've had people say, "Oh yeah, my internet's fine. I could watch Netflix." Well, that's download. That has nothing to do with the kind of streaming we're doing. And when they do a speed test, they're giving out single digit numbers that are even under 1. And no, that's not going to work. So, the higher quality you want to stream, the more upload speed you're going to need. So that's all I'm really was trying to say with this stuff. And this goes into a little bit more details where, they're claiming you need like 5 megabits upload for a 720 video. My whole thing is this: if you have an upload speed of 10, as long as you're not trying to do 4K streaming or multi streaming, you should be fine. And then this was more of a breakdown and the recommended speeds that they claim. But if we come down all the way to here, just look at this one here where everybody wants to do 4K. They're talking almost 16. I started covering it. Let me back up. They're talking about 16 to 41 megabits upload. Like, really? Really? You want to stream 4K? And then when they want to do multi-streaming, you have to multiply that. And what's worse is some people are like, "Well, I want to do 4K 60." Okay, well now you're looking at about 24 to 61, 62 on an upload. Yeah. You need to know how all of this stuff plays together, in my opinion. Again, not a high level, just a basic understanding. Routers. All right. I see it all the time. You get the router from your company. So here in the US, a lot of people have Comcast cable, which is to me is fine. It's better than DSL. It's better than AOL. It used to be. Dial up, I would never use that nowadays. I don't even know if they're still around. And they're happy. They're fine. They're good. Most people are. Streamers are not most people. You can't rely on something as basic as your internet service provider's router most of the time. I mean, I've seen a lot of streamers. They start in their house, then they are outside of their house, then they're in their backyard. Some people, not going to name names, will jump on their scooters and leave the neighborhood. I mean, obviously, you're on a cell phone for that. But, internet and the equipment you use is very important when you're streaming. So the basic might work, but you have to realize that you might have to upgrade from this. One of the easiest upgrades, but not my favorite, and these are older devices, but basically it's a mesh network, is what I wanted to say. So basically, you would have your main connected to your router from your internet service provider. Don't have them too close to each other, but you want that wired in. And then let's say you need a second one, aka just outside your door. The first one will communicate wirelessly to the second one. So that's your primary. If you need, let's say, another one, let's say the backyard, then you add another one, and that will communicate wirelessly to this one. Now, if I remember this correctly, 2 and 3 can't talk to each other. They need to talk to number 1, because that's the one that's wired in. And this is better. They got better devices. They got Wi-Fi 6. They got a bunch of stuff you could use. But then again, there's even better than this in my opinion, and that's when we get into my kind of stuff. And this is a basic model here for your house, but it's unified and it's a modular system. And what I mean by modular system is you could build on it. So let's say, for example, you build your own computer, and one day you're like, well, I want to add a graphics card, or I want to add this, I want to add this. You could build on top of it. And that's what I like about this system, because you could build on top of this. So just to give you an idea, let's say this was your house. And this is another thing that's critical. A lot of people don't think of the placement of the internet service provider's device. If you are going to put this device in your house, and let's say it's the only thing you're going to use, you want this to be in a centralized location to the best that you can. That's going to be one. And you're going to want it in a location that's as open as possible, because line of sight is critical when you're dealing with wireless connectivity. So let's say this was my house. I'm going to want the router from the internet service provider somewhere in here, because I'm going to assume the dining living room area is going to be critical. Seeing that I got these glass doors here, I might want to put it somewhere close to that wall. That way the signal could bleed back into this deck area. So it looks like there's some kind of, I can't see it too good, but it looks like there's a kind of entertainment center thing here, right? So I would probably, and again, it's not very centered, but it's going to be kind of centered in what I'm going to consider are some of the most crucial rooms. So I would put it, let's go with blue. I would put it here. So by putting it there, I'm going to do green for everything else. You should have some, I want to say, depending on what the house is made out of and everything, you should have some pretty good coverage in this area. You should have some good coverage all through the kitchen and the dining room area and all that stuff down this hallway. Again, depending on what your walls and everything are made of, you might be okay inside your bedrooms and all that stuff. But here's where the Unify will come in. You run a cable from your internet service provider to, let's say, the Dream router. That'll cover certain areas. But if you need to, say, have something in one of these rooms, looks like we have this far bedroom over here, whether it's wired, I recommend it, or wireless, you could put an access point in here. All right, let's change that if I could keep devices blue. You could put an access point in here. By having an access point in here, especially if you could get it closer to maybe this wall over here, you should be able to cover this room easily. It might even bleed back into this room, all the way into the bathroom. I mean, let's say, for example, and this is where planning comes in. This is where you might need that friend that has a basic understanding. Hello. You might be able to just get away with, let's say, putting a router. I don't want it in the bathroom. I think that's an interesting spot to have a bathroom, and it's huge. You might be able to put one, let's say, here. By putting it there, wow, this thing has 2 bathrooms. I just noticed that. I want more bedrooms, not bathrooms. Oh, this is a laundry area. You know what? Let's change that, because I don't care about the laundry area. I don't care about the bathroom. I'll go back to putting it, let's say, here. That should cover your 2 bedrooms. It'll bleed into this bathroom, but I wouldn't be too worried about I wouldn't be too worried about it now that I'm looking at it. I wouldn't be too worried about that. But again, like I saying, strategic planning, placing things. Most people I know, they'll call up the internet company, and the internet company will come in and they'll just put it as close to like maybe a TV or something, and then they're just gonna leave, and you get what you get. This was an example of my network earlier on. It's grown a lot. So you would have the internet service provider here. This I would have connected to my router, and you could see the rest of the connections here. So this is the router, and then I would have two switches, one here, one here. Both of these are PoE, which means power over Ethernet. Again, that's not what's important. What's important is you could add an access point with just a single cable. That'll give it the connectivity and the power and everything you need. But look what I have in my place, and I'm excessive. I have two switches. According to this diagram, I have three access points, actually four. That's a wireless one, and even another switch. So I got three switches. I mean, you could get excessive, but the point is you could grow this. You could modify this. You could put one in your garage. You could Some of these are made for outdoors. You could put it outside. Like legit run a cable from your router, run a cable, put an access point that's made to be outside, right outside your house. Now your entire yard has internet. So, coverage is dependent on the house, how it's built, how many walls you have, the devices you're utilizing, and keeping them up to date, not just in the software, but the age itself. I know people that still had like G routers in their houses. It's like that's such an old technology nowadays. You're not going to keep up with the flow. Everything's growing so fast. And another thing is you have to be careful with the cables you use, because if you're using old cables, they could only handle so much speed. So, I mean, they wrote Cat 5 here, but I'm saying Cat 5e. I don't know why they wrote Cat 5. That makes no sense to me. But, you could go up to 1 gigabit of speed with a Cat 5. So at a bare minimum, that's all you need. Some people are going to prefer 6. I prefer 6A. I'm not going to bother with 7. That's way beyond. But if you use the wrong cable, you could cause issues with your network. So again, having basic knowledge, I'm not going to get into details with everything, but having basic knowledge of even the cables that are being connected to the devices that you have wired, especially if they're access points, it's going to be very important. And then the end. So that was the end of that little slide. What else was I going to bring up? Well, that was already the keynote, and I already had the whiteboard, but we'll go back to the whiteboard. So that was just a quick run through of just like the network stuff, but it's like you still have. Oh, I know. I was going to do the computers. You still have to have a basic understanding if you want to be able to troubleshoot, if you want to be able to have a decent stream. Computer specs. That way we could talk about computers a little bit. I'll bring up the computer specs. And I mean, once you're done and you're dealing with the internet part, a lot of people, especially not understanding your resources, how certain things work with the computer, the difference between web-based software and, you know, software like Ecamm that you download to your computer. Again, I know a lot of people use their cell phones, but this even accounts with cell phones. You get a budget cell phone, and I know it's probably the only thing you could afford or the only thing you have right now. Don't expect too much from it. Okay. You have to have something that could handle what you're doing. So if all you do is make phone calls, you don't even need a smartphone for that. You go get yourself a flip phone. But if you have to utilize apps, if you're going to be doing videos and all this stuff on your phone, you don't get a $35 smartphone with, 60 gigs of storage. I mean, you're going to run out of storage very quickly, especially if you think you're going to do 4K. So whether it's phones or computers, you want to make sure you get something that's going to work. You don't have to be excessive, but you have to kind of plan for this. So you're going to do like me. I went through probably 6 computers, even though my fourth one I think was a Mac and I was fine. I kept doing, more computers and trying to figure this out. So first thing you got to think about is what's going to work for you, Windows or Mac. For me, almost 100% is going to be Mac now. Not that I'm a Mac fanboy. I haven't used Mac in years until I found Ecamm because I think Ecamm is amazing software. That's what I'm using right now to do all of this. And they're Mac only. So I bought a Mac to use Ecamm and I stuck to Mac as far as streaming and recording. I don't really edit, but trust me, the Macs are going to do the editing and everything beautifully. So, I have both low end, higher end. Hell, the Windows I built and I just finished fixing because it got crazy on me. So, Windows computers, what do I have? I have a i7 9th gen. I'm going to recommend even higher than this because this is older now. 10th gen or newer. So, newer is going to be key because we got 13th gen now. So, I'm going to say now I wouldn't even recommend. Oh, I went too far. I wouldn't even recommend a 9th or 10th gen. I'm going to go now with 12 as a minimum. So an i7 12th gen or newer. I'm still going to go with a Windows computer. I'm still going to go with 32 gigs of RAM. And it's best if you use a graphics card, bare minimum. And I think what I have in my laptop is a 1660 from NVIDIA. But again, the higher you could go, especially with Windows computers, the higher you could go with certain specs, the better. But, as time progresses, you're going to need to upgrade. So there are, not everyone, but there are large companies that every, 2 to 5 years, I want to say maybe closer to 5, maybe, they're going to replace all their computers. I know people that have computers that are 15 years or more and they're still using them. And again, if all you're doing is checking emails, paying a few bills, as long as it still updates, and that's what's going to be critical, people, because a lot of people, if you don't know, Windows 10 loses support next year. Once Windows 10 loses support, you really shouldn't have this computer online anymore. I'm just saying. All right. Oh, wait. So this is actually close to the specs on my laptop. That's probably why I wrote that. So the desktop that I built, what is it? It's an i7 9700K, 8 cores. I have 32 gigs of RAM. I have a PCIe SSD. I hope it's an NVMe. I can't remember. And then here's the important thing. I got the graphics card. All right. If you're gonna do editing, if you're gonna do video streaming, you're gonna do some of the things that we do, you're gonna want a graphics card. So I got a RTX 2660, and this one's actually a little fancy, which I'm gonna have to get the drivers, make sure this thing works, because I kind of rebuilt the computer as far as the operating system. I had a lot of problems with the computer where it thought it couldn't run Windows 11, so I had to do all this stuff. I finally got it, some time to fix it, and I worked on it yesterday. But I got the Elgato Camlink Pro, so this will allow me to connect 4 cameras and use them individually into my stream, built into the computer. So I was building this computer specifically for streaming. So when I get a chance, I'm going to clear out this table behind me and hopefully put the computer with a couple monitors, set it up with some cameras and everything. That way I could demo the Windows build for streaming. Oh, here's my Lenovo laptop. So this is what I'm rocking for a laptop. So I got the Legion 5. It's a gaming laptop. The easiest way to know, in my opinion, not perfect, but one of the easiest ways to know if your laptop is going to be good enough for streaming, editing, and some things, especially when you're dealing with Windows, you might have to just look for a gaming laptop. Gaming computer, gaming laptop with a dedicated graphics card, you can't go wrong. So 15-inch laptop, got the NVIDIA GTX 1660 with Intel 6-core i7, 32 gigs of RAM, and a terabyte of PCIe SSD. These are not your old school hard drives. These are better storage drives that are a lot faster. For Windows PCs, less powerful. You could get away with an A10 Mini or similar device. So basically, you get a hardware device that would handle all your cameras. That's all that is. Because if you really can't get a higher end computer, there's certain hardware devices you could add to it, to help you out. And again, we're talking computers, we're talking for streaming, but even for editing, you're going to want higher specs. My Macs never going to get an error. I'm just saying, don't bother. Not if you're going to be streaming and stuff like that. Don't bother with an error. But okay. Mac 3, the M3s are out now, so I would get a Mac M series. It's probably the best way to say it now. The base models are fine, but if you're gonna get excessive, like I've run into a couple problems here and there because I have base models. 16 gigs of RAM is more than enough. And again, I will never be able to stress this enough. Stay away from the air if you want to be doing anything like Ecamm, multicam streaming, that kind of thing. Just stay away from the air. Software, Ecamm Live. That's what I do. That's what I'm using now with my iPad, my pencil, and all this stuff. It's all going through my Mac Mini with Ecamm. So Ecamm for Ecamm Live. Mac. This is what they're recommending. I think Mac Mini, iMac, or MacBook Pro, manufactured in 2015 or newer. So everyone that's trying to use their 2013, 2012, 2009, 1946, if they even had one, go with something newer. And that's why I'm saying the M series is a no-brainer, because they're all newer and they're all strong enough to do your editing and all that stuff, even the Air, but I wouldn't buy an Air. And I think that's it for that slide. Ta-da! So let me back out of that one. Do I have one for cameras? I don't remember. And again, I'm just throwing a lot of stuff out there because I have not talked about networks and stuff like that in a long time. Setup. No, 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 no. Oh, I got something here that says Speedify. Let's take a look at that one. I like my Speedify. Speedify is pretty cool. This is something that I would recommend anybody and everybody in the Philippines to try out and test. They've come a long way. Perfect example, if you have Speedify in your phone and you have it turned on while you're in, let's say, your apartment, it will take your Wi-Fi from your apartment, your internet from your apartment, and bond it, connect it at the same time with your cell phone's internet. So by doing this, whether your cell phone's secondary or set up as a primary, either way, and I've had this happen to myself multiple times, I forget I'm on the Wi-Fi, I walk away from the house, and I get disconnected. If you're running Speedify and you walk away from your house, you're not going to get disconnected. Nothing's going to happen as far as you know. But what Speedify is going to do is it's going to transition you to the cell data without losing data, without losing the connectivity. So your stream is not going to like stop and come back, or you have to hit a button or whatever to say go back just because you walk away from your Wi-Fi. What am I using? I don't know why. I can't remember why I was right. Oh, I was doing a test. So I had my Mac Mini. I had Comcast wired in. I had T-Mobile 5G internet wired in. I had a cellular hotspot. I had my cell phone tethered. Then I had Speedify for channel bonding and 2 powered hubs. I had all this stuff connected, I believe, to my Mac Mini. Yeah, so I had all this stuff connected to my Mac Mini just to see what would happen. So, like, if you lose one connection, doesn't matter because it will run off the other connections. Now, Speedify's come a long way. I mean, Speedify has so much now with parent share and all this other stuff. It's insanity. And I heard that they're very close to releasing an actual router. And that's what I'm waiting for. As soon as this router's out, I'm jumping on that thing. Because to have a router with built in support for Speedify, I think is huge. You just connect everything to that router, you broadcast that signal. Uh, Hopefully, it's going to be set up to a point where it might have, let's say, 2 ports for wired connectivity coming in and a couple ports for out, or at least one for out. You could always add a switch. Uh, in the Mac, you would set it up for sharing your internet. Yeah. See, I'm trying to remember this as I go because this was a while ago. There are a lot of videos that were like my first 5 or 6 that I actually talked about this probably. And that was it. So this was something about setting up Speedify with my Mac, which I'm gonna have to play with that again. I don't play enough. And then again, I am using Ecamm now, bringing in iPad 100% wirelessly with NDI. If you don't know, I am a big fan of NDI. So I have here my Mevo app, my Mevo multicam app, my Mevo Go app, NDI HX Capture, which is what I'm using right now to bring the iPad screen in. I got NDI camera. I could switch this to the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off. Let's go here. I'm going to turn off the screen sharing. So you're going to lose the signal probably right there. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn on the NDI camera. And then I'm going to add the camera in place of this. And give me a second, y'all. Where are we? I'm just going to change the letter to G. Give me a second here. And there we go. So now I'm using the iPad's camera. So I love my NDI. I'm just saying. And this is 100% wireless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera. And I am going to lift up the iPad. And now you can see the cray in front of me. But you can see I'm holding the iPad in my hands. So there are no wires on this at all because I'm utilizing the network. And once you have, again, a basic understanding of the network, how these things work, you can start playing around with stuff like this. What's this? Is this to zoom in? Where did it go? I want to see this again. I don't know what this is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's not zoom in on me. What's this? This is for quality, I think. Yeah. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things you could play with. There's a lot of technology. You could keep it simple. You could make it a little bit more complex. I mean, even if I wanted to bring in the camera from my phone, I could bring in the camera from my phone. There's so many different things you could do. And again, the easiest thing is just grab your phone, go live. Now, one thing I want to bring up because I hear it so often, and I just want to make sure there's a little clarification. For you to live stream to YouTube, the only reason you need 50 subscribers and a few other things is because of, I'm assuming you want to use your phone. If you have a laptop and you just go live and all you're going to do is chit chat, just go live. I understand it's not vertical. Vertical is going to be best for most people because of the way vertical short lives and all that stuff is. But if you want to just go live like I just did right now, you don't need 50 plus subscribers if you're using a computer. I just feel it's a little weird personally when people are going around trying to get subs and they have zero content. I mean, literally no content whatsoever. They haven't done any shorts. They haven't done any videos. They haven't lives. I understand you, especially on a phone, you need subscribers and everything, but you don't need subscribers to upload a video or upload a short. Put something out there. All right, so I rambled for a bit. I'm gonna go back to sleep. I woke up, took my meds, had my breakfast, but now I need more sleep. My sleep schedule's all messed up over this weekend and the last few days with so much stuff that I'm trying to deal with, good and bad. So I am going to go back to sleep for a bit, try to turn my iPad off. There we go. And I will catch you guys probably next week. I'm probably going to try, because, again, do a schedule, post ahead of time, let people know you're going live. I'm horrible with that. So I'm probably going to try to do this every week, maybe 7 o'clock ish, because I could handle 7 o'clock hopefully in the morning. That way I could catch a few people in certain time zones. Uh, and even though it's kind of early for me in my area, we have multiple time zones, so it gives people a chance, hopefully, to jump in. If not, there's always the replay. So as soon as I get a chance, I'll make this live. And yeah, that's it. Later, everybody. Take care. Have yourself a good Sunday, Monday for people around the world. See ya.